Happy Sunday. How are you guys doing? I am Sharla K. Sharla Kornegay coming live to you guys with another Forever Friends Academy episode. I hope you guys had a wonderful Sunday. For those of you who celebrate Resurrection Sunday, hopefully you guys had a good day. Maybe at church celebrating, etc. And as per usual, I hope that you are winding down. Or maybe if you're not winding down and you're still on the go, you can still pop in with me to have some good conversation. So as per usual, if there's anyone new to the podcast, let me introduce myself. My name is Sharla Kornegay. I'm an author, a recording artist, founder of Interask Coaching and Forever Friends Academy, and this is my show, Forever Friends, titled with the same name. And basically here, all I do is talk about relationship topics. But I like to say that I have one approach and one approach only, which is I firmly believe that our relationships, that God gave us fundamental principles that we can use in our relationships. And it doesn't matter what your relationship dynamic is, you can use them and they will help you ground and fortify your relationship so that when the test of time and change come, you guys will be strong, standing strong together. Hey, Justin, how are you? Good night. Happy Sunday. Thank you for joining me. Oh, thanks, Justin. I appreciate you. So you didn't miss anything. I was just introducing myself. So if you are new to the podcast, definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's the same title, Forever Friends Academy. On that channel, that's where I upload all the live full videos. On my other platforms, I put snippets, but there you can be notified when I'm on. I usually come on every Thursday evening and Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tonight is Sunday relationship scenarios. So we're going to get to it very shortly. Oh, happy Resurrection Sunday to you too, Justin. Appreciate it. So I'm going to start off tonight. I usually start off with a quote, but I want to start off tonight with a question for you guys, and I'm curious to see how you're going to answer. All right. Oh, you just got back from your cousin's house. Well, I hope you guys all had a good time. Thank you for popping in with me. All right. So tonight's question. All right. I think it's, well, I thought of it. Hopefully you think it's interesting as much as I think it is. All right. So the question for tonight, before we get into the scenario, is I want you, and I don't know if any of you guys have seen the movie I Am Legend by Will Smith, where he's like the last, human standing or living, rather. And so I want you to imagine, let's just act like, let's put both his movies together. Let's put iRobot. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie either. iRobot, where the way the robots try to take over, I figure to be kind of in tune with what's going on right now in the modern day. So basically, let's just imagine that, listen, the robots took over, right? It didn't end like it did in iRobot, where he beats all the robots. They take over, right? And so humanity is a done deal, and you are the only one left standing, all right? You're the only one left living. And so God comes to you and says, I am basically putting in your hands the ability and trusting for you to replenish the earth, start humanity again, and I'm going to give you one partner to help you do it. And he says that you can choose between having a partner that has tremendous heart or tremendous wisdom, right? So again, you're the last person living, and it's up to you basically to replenish the earth. It's up to you to reestablish everything. And God says, I can give you a partner that has tremendous heart or tremendous wisdom. Which one do you choose and why? Which one do you choose and why? All right. So yeah, it's one of those, Charlotte questions. Like, Charlotte, what are you talking about? I promise you it'll make sense as we go into tonight's scenario. It's going to tie in. So while I wait for you guys to get me, maybe possibly think about it and give me some answers, I'm going to recap some of what we talked about on our last podcast, which I really, really enjoyed with you guys, we talked about attractiveness. What is your attractiveness? And are you leveraging it? And most importantly, well, I guess both of them is important, but you have to know what your attractiveness is before you can leverage it. So we talked about, I have a book that I wrote, 7 Stages of Loving Relationships, my second book. And in that discussion, I talked about that, of course, all of us, we come in different shapes and sizes. People have different preferences as to what they consider to be beautiful, handsome, attractive, etc. But in my book, I said the even playing field that we all have is that we all have energy, right? We're all given a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of time in the day to invest our energy in. And so the point that I was making on the last podcast is that one of the most attractive things and one of the things that we can do in our relationships to make sure that there's a continual positive and appealing environment of attractiveness in the relationship is that we can pay attention, right? We can be very attentive with our energy. And we talked about the 3 different people that you can kind of look at and assess that might be in your life that will help you kind of know how you've been either investing your energy or maybe wasting it. And we talked about those 3 types of individuals being takers, givers, and diners. And of course, the takers are the people who, in life that have to go from person to person, place to place, to take things from people because they don't have, a overflow within themselves. So that's how they acquire. And those people will leave us feeling completely depleted after a while, right? And they're not really in your life to give you any kind of reciprocity. And then we talked about, of course, the givers, which, those are the people who have an abundance, whether it's you have an abundance of love, have an abundance of money and wealth, whatever it is, maybe have an abundance of energy. There's a lot of people who are just have a lot of, energy and fuel. And so, of course, those are the people who, when they're good, they're fruitful ground for you to invest your energy in because they're going to reciprocate, right? They're going to fuel you, maybe not in the same way that you give to them, but you're going to get back. And hey, Antoine, how are you? And then we talked about diners, which they're a little bit different from takers because they are the people who, they might not be so outrightly toxic, but they basically, come and dine off your energy, basically, right? They snack on your energy. It's like when you're focused and you have a project to do, they're the people in your life that all of a sudden they might send you the calls or the texts and they might distract you from what you have to do. And now the energy that you had in place to do the things that you wanted to do is no longer in place because they're dining off your energy. So that's what we were talking about last podcast, and just making sure that we are investing in the right places and we are refueling our energy so that, no matter who you are, whether you're a man or a woman, and you, I guess maybe as a woman, adorn yourself in a certain way, whatever energy you carry is going to precede that, right? And we can't mask negative energy with good hairstyles, lipsticks, and nice dresses. That energy is going to be felt. And, and it goes the same for men, whether it's your status or wealth or, however you adorn yourself. The main thing is that we want to carry good energy, right? So that is just a little recap of what we were talking about. But I have some new folks in here. Hello, it only gets better. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Okay, so I have some men in here. And I want to restate the question that I asked early on with Justin and get you guys' opinion on it before I get out the scenario tonight. So the question is basically just act like you're Will Smith, your I Am Legend, right? Let's just act like the robots. The robots took everything over, right? Humanity's done. You're the last person living, right? God says He's trusting you to replenish, reestablish the earth, right? He gives you a choice and says that you can have one type of like partner or character or personality with you to do this. And he says, you can choose between a person who has tremendous heart or a person who has tremendous wisdom. Who do you pick and why? Who do you pick and why? I know that's a layered, well, maybe it's not layered, but I was trying to make it as short as possible, guys, but hopefully you're still with me. All right. So again, you're the last person living. You are the Will Smith of this current modern day, right? And the robots have, made Earth or human beings on Earth, but okay. God gives you a choice. He is entrusting in you to replenish and reestablish everything. And you can pick one partner to do it with you. Are you going to pick a person who has tremendous heart or a person who has tremendous wisdom, and why? So hopefully you guys got it. But thank you guys for popping in, Antoine, Justin, and it only gets better. Justin is like, he says, in being positive stuff, he says, I'm trying my best to answer it. No problem. I know. I'm trying to be a little creative for you guys today. I really was. Maybe it was too much. All right. So I got an answer. It only gets better, says wisdom. Okay. Can you let me know why? Can you let me know why? I know it's kind of short. And just for the guys who are on here, I do come back on. Okay, I got two men who say wisdom. All right, just for the guys who are on here, I do the show from 8 p.m. to like 9 p.m., 9:15, but I do come back on at like 9:30, somewhere 9:15, 9:30, and I just started this new series that I would love if you guys have time to come back, where you can actually join the live with me, like, because I know typing can take a lot of time. And maybe you just don't feel like doing it in the night. So I appreciate you guys for typing. But when I come back on, I started this series where I'm asking the question, what freedom does marriage afford a man? What freedom does marriage afford a man? So if you guys can hop back on with me at like around 9:30, I would appreciate it, because I really want to hear specifically from the men, your thoughts on this, because I hear so many men who are very hesitant and resistant to getting married, especially in this modern day culture, because they give me, reasoning as it's no benefit to them. Maybe they've heard from other older men in their families that, once they got married, things changed. It felt more restrictive, and they can't necessarily really fulfill or walk in their purpose all the way because of, I guess, the dynamic of the relationship. So I really want to create a space where we can probably have conversations where the men can kind of tell me. And I just started last week, and I just posted a post on the first answer that really resonated with me. And the gentleman said that basically the freedom that a man gets is that he gets to express the fullness of his manhood. And if a man is to be a man, he commits to who amplifies him, which I thought was so well and eloquently articulated. So anyway, that's enough about that. But I just wanted, since I have you guys on with me, I wanted to let you know, because I would love to hear from you guys and talk to you. And I will be posting the answers that I get that resonate with me. So I appreciate you guys. All right. So my nephew's in here. Hey, Joshy, love you. All right. So I put out a question, Josh. You can answer it if you wish, where I basically gave like a scenario where we're like, I am legend. You are the last person living. And God says you are entrusted with replenishing or reestablishing the earth. And he says you can have one partner, one type of character with you to do it. He says you can choose from choosing someone who has tremendous heart or tremendous wisdom. Which one do you choose and why? So it only gets better, says, because, and he chose wisdom. He says, because as it's our responsibility to procreate in this scenario, we both would need to be focused on long-term accomplishments, not only short-term gains or accomplishments. Okay. And Ajax says, that is a really good question. I appreciate it. Okay. So he says wisdom too. Wow. So guys, like unanimously right now, everybody's saying wisdom. And I think this is very interesting. And these are all, so far, that I have on here is Men with Me. And Antoine says, I say wisdom because you have to be smart and know when to do things and do them at the right time and know when it is time to have those conversations, especially important ones. Okay. We both have to be on the same page and think about what do we really want out of this. Okay, I think this is really interesting and I'm very curious because I have all men on here. I'm wondering, right? And I guess I'm assuming this. Some of you guys I know, and some of you guys I don't. But I think it's all men who are heterosexual on here, right? So I'm wondering if, when you're thinking of the partner, are you thinking, well, I'm sure it's only gets better is because of the way he explained his reasoning. But I'm wondering if, because the partner, of course, would be a woman that would be by your side, is that the reason why you're picking wisdom rather than heart? And if it was the case to where it wasn't that and it wasn't like a sexual or intimate thing, if you were thinking of a man and just thinking of building certain things, would it change? Would it be more heart than wisdom, or would that just remain the same? So I'm curious. Wow. Wow. So, and I also say that because I'll answer the question. So for me, I would choose someone with tremendous heart, not wisdom. Tremendous heart. And the reason why I say that, because I thought of this question as I was reading the Bible, and I was reading First Kings, and it was talking about King Solomon, which for those of you who might not be either acclimated with the Bible, basically King David is a king after God's own heart, and he reigns. And then he has many different children, but this particular son that he has is from Bathsheba, which is a woman that he found very beautiful. And unfortunately, she was married, but he wanted her. He desired her so much that he basically called her to him, which he could because he's a king. And then he basically, was intimate with her, and then she became pregnant. And to hide it, he basically put the husband on the battlefield in the front line so that he could die, so that he can basically, have her to himself appropriately. So that is the son who takes his reign, basically, after David passes away. And I'm always fond of his story because he takes the throne when he's very young, and he asks God for wisdom to judge the people because he was so young. And God blessed him with wisdom and like all the riches. He was the richest king. And God said, because you asked for wisdom and not anything else, I'm going to give you the wisdom and literally everything else that your heart can desire, as long as you keep a heart after me like your father did, David. And so, to make a long story short, which I kind of made long already, when he passes away, he has like, I don't know, maybe 700 wives, 300 concubines. Like, it's a long list, guys. All right. So he basically kind of strays away when he passes away from God, because he doesn't keep the heart after God like his father did. And he, these women that he takes as his wives and his concubines basically serve other gods. And, he basically provides things to them where they start to do offerings to their other gods, and it kind of makes his heart stray. So I always am very intrigued by that story, and always, I guess, what's the word? That story provides me with a lot of wisdom for me, because it reminds me to keep a heart after God, like no matter what, even in the wisdom that you get. And I think when you have a certain amount of heart, sometimes you don't. And I think in comparing those two stories, if you ever choose to read it, you notice that his father, through his life, has so much heart that when there are certain things that come up, like whether he's got to fight Goliath, he has like one little stone and he's fighting this big giant. He has like a lot of heart, and in the way that he navigates life or the way he fights some of his battles, it's sometimes it's not logical, or even practical, or maybe even some would say it wouldn't even be as wise. And so many people would count him out of certain scenarios because of that. But he would always come out on top. He'd always overcome it. And I really do believe it's because of the heart that he had. And I think when it comes to heart is a mixture of having courage and trust. And for me, having heart is almost equivalent. Basically, I think it is equivalent to having faith, because faith is rooted in trust, and you definitely have to have courage. Courage is like a byproduct of faith, and faith is a byproduct of trust. That's the way that I see it. So that's why I want someone with heart, because I think when we're replenishing and having to rebuild the earth, we might not necessarily have maybe what we feel like is all the tools necessary to do the things that we have to do. But if I know it's a person who has heart, and especially a person who's placed their heart in God, or has a heart for God or after God, they're going to be able to, I think the heart for God is what leaves an open pathway for the wisdom, if that makes any sense. I think someone who has a wisdom that is disconnected and doesn't necessarily have heart, oh man, that could be a recipe for disaster, I think. So, but I love all of your responses, and I love the reasonings that you guys gave. Again, this is a question that I kind of throw out to you guys in the beginning, especially for those of you who are on the dating scene, who are single. That is a question you can ask someone that you're getting to know, and see what answer they provide you, because it will give you a little window into their character, especially, right? And it's kind of like an interesting question. It's not maybe a question that you might hear from someone often, so then it'll, kind of give you a pathway to have more in-depth conversation, but you don't necessarily feel like you're interviewing the person. And of course, we want to have conversations where we're not having so many moments of awkward silence. So definitely put that on your on your roster of questions if you've been following the podcast and kind of listening and writing down some of the questions that I've provided. And of course, if you're in a relationship and you're married, or just want to talk about it with your friends, it's still a great conversation to have, to kind of facilitate more in-depth, topics of discussion. So I think I'm missing something. So let me read those, and then I'm going to get into the scenario tonight so that you guys can let me know, like, what your thoughts are. So Ajax says, did I read that already? I don't think so. He says, we both have to be on the same page and think about what do we really want out of this. And he says, I say wisdom because I want someone who wants to really be with me and loves me as a person, and not just for money or what I have. Someone I can trust and be honest with. Yeah, most definitely. Someone who knows what they want and takes it serious and not playing games. Okay. And he says he loved my reasons. I love your reasons too. That's a great answer. And I think it's amazing, because all of you guys who responded to me thus far are men, and you all said wisdom. So I think that's very interesting. I do. I think that's very interesting. I think a great combination is someone who has a lot of heart, and then maybe the other person has a lot of wisdom. Then we can make, we can make a lot of moves that are really impactful. So, but tonight, the real scenario tonight, let me give it to you guys and let me know what your thoughts are on this. All right. Hey, McKK, how are you? You didn't really miss much. I'm diving into scenario, but I'm going to just quickly let you, because I'm curious, because I had a lot of men on here who answered my first question, and you are a woman, so I would love to know if you have a different answer from them. And so I put out a real quick question, which is, I guess, a question merged with a scenario. Just act like your I Am Legend. The robots took over everything. Humanity's basically done, right? You are the only one left living. God says he entrusts you to replenish, rebuild the earth. And he says you can choose one person, right? And this person, I'm going to give them one type of character. You can choose somebody who has tremendous heart or tremendous wisdom. Which one do you choose and why? All right. So again, you're the last person standing. The robots then took they did it, y'all. They outed us. You're the last person standing like Will Smith and I Am Legend. And God says, you have to rebuild. I'm going to give you one partner, and you can choose what character this one person has. You can choose between a person who has tremendous heart or a person who has tremendous wisdom. Let me know who you choose and why. Hey, pretty black. Hey, beautiful. And S. Collins, welcome to the podcast. So hopefully you guys heard the question. Feel free to answer it and let me know what your thoughts are. But I'm going to dive into the scenario because tonight is something that I call Sunday night relationship scenarios, where I throw out a scenario. We get to act like we are the therapist and the coach and kind of help and dive in and kind of extract some principles, hopefully via this couple's issue. All right, so we have a couple. They have been going out now for about, let's say, 3 years, right? And they're young. Let's just say they are kind of like high school sweethearts, but they started going out like in senior year. Right. And so now they're at the point where they're both almost ready to graduate. And that was something that they always talked about, that when they're about to graduate, that they're going to get married. Right. And so they are doing their due diligence to kind of go to some coaching and some therapy so that they know that they are definitely ready to get married. And one of the issues that comes up is that the wife-to-be says that, the person that she's dating is great. He's wonderful in so many different ways. Everything's kind of set for them as far as finances and things like that. But there is one thing that she cannot get out of her mind, right? And so she says that basically there have been 4 instances in the relationship where three of them happened when they were in high school, where there were times that she felt like there were situations or conflicts that he was in and that she was there. And, she's very forthright and she was very well known and popular in their high school. And so whenever these conflicts would happen, one time there was a conflict, someone wanted to fight him, and she, back then was very kind of boisterous, and she told him to kind of like leave, basically, because she didn't want the person who was, having the conflict or the argument with him, who eventually really wanted to get physical with him, to harm him. So she told him to go, and that, she'd be okay. And he actually left. Right? He actually left. He left, and he didn't really call her back until he got home to make sure that she was okay. Right? But he never came back. Right? And there were a few maybe 2 other instances when they were in high school where he had conflict and she would be in the midst of it. And one time she got hit because there were people that were jumping him. And then when they, got older and they're in college, there was one time where she doesn't really know how to swim that much. They were out in a pool, and she went in the deep water, and she was like, asking for help because she was basically almost drowning. Now he doesn't know how to swim, so he went and got the lifeguard so the lifeguard can help her. Now, thank God she's okay. She's fine. But she basically tells the coach that they're talking to that, even though everything is good, I just don't really know, he lacks heart, basically. And I don't really feel protected by him. Now, we haven't had any scenario outside of those where I've had in our older age to see if he's going to be able to protect me, but I can't get out of my mind the scenarios where he did not. And so his argument and that he presents in the session is that, well, she's very, direct. She she usually says what she wants and means what she says. And in those scenarios, when he left, it was like it was going to be more of a conflict with her if he would have stayed, right? And then the other scenario where she, had the accident in the water, he was like, I don't know how to swim, so I wanted to do what I felt was the best to really be able to save her. I felt like that was the most wise move to make, because if I'm going to jump in there, we're both going to be drowning together. But make no mistake, like, I love her, I'm committing to her, I want to marry her. And I need her to know, like, definitely if she's in danger, I'm going to be there for her. And I was younger, I'm older now. And so that's the scenario. He feels like she, has been with him all this time, committed, agreed. They're engaged, so she accepts the proposal. So he's ready to go. He's 10 toes down, all right? He's 10 toes down. So she just needs to trust that if most definitely they are in danger, he will do whatever he needs to do to protect her. And she's like, I can't really believe that because the receipts don't show that. All right. So what are your thoughts? What do you think? Do you agree with the woman in this? And do you think it's a sign where it's like, okay, no, yeah, run, because he does lack the heart and the courage to be able to, because if he did have it, there would be nothing that you could say, and there could be nothing that could have presented itself for him to not want to protect you with everything that he has. Or is it, well, do you agree with him where it's like, okay, we were young, we've matured now, and I'm in a space where I can be more, forthright and not necessarily take the commands or demands from her, and that she should just trust him because he is fully in this, and the receipts are shown in the fact that he's been committed, loyal, and wants to make her his wife. What do you guys think? All right, what do you guys think? Let me know what your thoughts. Who do you agree with? Hey E, how are you? And C date. So you guys came in on scenario. Hopefully you heard the scenario. But I did have a question in the beginning, which was kind of like a precursor scenario, I guess. I just said basically, imagine your I am legend. The robots got us. You're the last person standing, and God says you are entrusted to replenish and rebuild things. I'm going to give you one partner, one person. All right? This person can either have tremendous heart or they can have tremendous wisdom. Which one are you going to choose and why? So that's that. And of course, feel free, if you heard the scenario, to let me know what your thoughts are. The women on here, McKay, Pretty Black One, let me know what your thoughts. Can you be with a man or get over the fact, even if you did start out at a younger age, a man who fled in time of either conflict or danger? And even if that situation wasn't that the person was wanting to do harm to you, but they wanted to do harm to them, just in the fact of them leaving, would you be able to move on and trust that you can feel secure and safe in this person's care? Or is she being too, is she harping on something that really shouldn't matter? And do you agree with the man in the scenario? All right, It Only Gets Better says, I'm not sure of the exact specifics as far as how you describe the second scenario. Are you saying that he has an opportunity to defend her and fail to do so? All right, so let me try to make it a little bit more clear. All right, so no, it's not defending her. The issues in the past, they were younger, they were in high school, and the conflict was between him and another gentleman. But she was very popular, and the gentleman basically would not harm her. The gentleman wanted to harm him. And she told him to go because she knew that the person who wanted to attack him would not harm her. And he fled, and he ran all the way home and did not, call her until like later that night, to make sure that she was okay. And then there was another scenario where she had, an accident in the water. Basically, the water was too deep. She was couldn't swim, and he went to get a lifeguard instead of like jumping in the water to try to save her right away, because he can't swim either, and he felt like that was the most wisest choice. So in the situations, it's not necessarily that someone's coming after her. It's really that they're coming after him. And she tells him to flee, and he does. But because of that, she does not feel secure, because she's like, who would do that? who would flee? Whether I told you to or not. So hopefully that clarifies it a little bit better. He said, oh yeah, wow, he's a coward. Not a good, secure relationship. Okay, so I got one answer who's agreeing with the woman. Like, she has every right to feel not secure, because he he did leave. And Ajax also says, I would agree with the woman, because even though a man is older and he is mature, he can say it. But if he's not showing it, then it's best for her to break up and move on. Yeah. And Justin says he also agrees with that. And Ajax says the man has to always be there for his woman, because anything can happen, right? At any time, and you have to be ready. Sounds like she has a zero confidence in him. Yeah, and she does. She does have zero confidence in him in that particular area. Like, everything else is good, like as far as his finances, his emotional, EQ, his being able to nurture her emotionally, and basically every other area is fine except for that one. And so that's what's giving her pause to say, okay, can I really marry this person? Because I don't know, He said, him being capable of protecting her. Yep, that's exactly what it is. As Cowan says, you can forgive, but some women have a hard time forgetting, myself at times, which can make it hard for her to put full trust in him with certain things. Yeah, although she told him to flee, he was supposed to, right? He was supposed to remain beside her at that moment, right? Exactly, Absolutely. And I think, his argument is that they were younger, and, because she's so direct, when she told him to go, he did. He went, and because he also felt like he had the assuredness that she would be okay. But I think I'm definitely going to agree with you guys too. If I was the coach, if I was the therapist, I would definitely have to say that no matter what, whether he felt like he knew she was going to be safe, there is still cowardness in it, because you're running away from whatever, whatever conflict that you're facing as well. And then, you don't really know. I mean, she can say, or she can believe, and you both can believe that he won't do anything to her, but God forbid, right, that he left her, and that person actually did harm her, and she was just left, not secure. So I definitely have to wholeheartedly agree with you guys, and I don't think it's something, because the interesting part and the most challenging part about that is, how do you, like, how do you, without something coming up, how do you even, I guess, process or assess that? Because you can say one thing, but then you actually being thrust in the moment, you can do a whole nother thing. So that's a hard one, because unless there is something that comes up, for him to have to show how he's going to have the heart to defend, and having a heart, heart meaning like courage, that's something that throughout life, right? As you meet certain challenges in life, then it comes out of you. And I think that's something that definitely has to be cultivated and nurtured. I always like to say we're like sponges, like whatever life challenges comes to squeeze us, whatever's in there is what's going to come out. So I don't know if her being able to just be secure in him saying, okay, yeah, definitely, I'm gonna marry you, and you're gonna be my wife, and then right, we're gonna have children. That I'm gonna feel secure enough that you're going to be able to protect not only me but also our child or our children that we have. So Ajax says, I also want to say this as well. Even though she told him to leave, that can also be a test to see what he's really going to do for sure. And since he made the wrong decision, that tell the woman everything that she needs to know about him. Yeah, I agree with you, Antoine. I really do. And it only gets better. So the first scenario about the last couple on earth was courage or wisdom. Yeah, that was the first little, scenario that I used to kind of ease in that question. Like, would you choose somebody with tremendous heart or tremendous wisdom? And of course, I'm sure you can see how I kind of connected it with the scenario that I was going to present to you guys tonight. And I wanted to see where you guys were at, because I think in both of those scenarios, the man's justification, especially on the second, I guess incident in their relationship where she, accidentally basically goes on a slide where there's deep water there that she doesn't know, and she's like literally drowning. She expected him to go in there and try to save her, but he's like, I can't swim. Like we're gonna be drowning together, so I'm using wisdom. I'm gonna go get the lifeguard because I can't really do anything for you. But that was, I guess, the last straw for her, because now they're older and she felt like, I don't think this guy has enough heart to be able to make me feel secure at all, So, oh, he says, I thought you were saying heart as in emotional strength and intensity. I totally understand. Yeah, I don't know if you heard me when I was explaining it. I meant heart like having courage, right? And when you have courage, it's very hard for you to have courage without having a deep sense of trust. And so that's why I brought up the example of like David in the Bible. He had a lot of heart. He had heart for God, but he also had heart, meaning like a lot of the examples that came up when he would have to face conflict or challenges. It didn't matter how big that person was, whether it was like a big giant, and he took whatever tool that he had, but because of the heart that he had and how it fueled him, he was able to always, right, one, put his whole heart and full trust in God, and then also have enough courage to face things that seem to be way, like a lot bigger than him, right? So that's what I mean by when somebody has like heart in it, right? And that's why I gave my answer of like, I would choose somebody with tremendous heart, because in rebuilding things, and I'm sure, those people who, have created and founded many of the things that allow us to live very conveniently, they had to put things together, everything wasn't kind of rolled out with the red carpet for them. So I'm just thinking, if I have a person with me and there are challenges that come up, I think that a person who has heart can put themselves in a place where authentic wisdom can come in, and if things aren't so logical or practical, we would still be able to get certain things done because the heart is so entrenched. It has so much courage and so much trust, which is really like courage. I said faith is like courage, having courage and trust together, that we'd be able to, build and build properly, and it will leave space for the wisdom to come in. But sometimes if you have a person who has wisdom without heart, sometimes that I don't think can always be a good recipe, So, but I understand why you were thinking that. As Kama says, I was referring to heart as love instead of courage. Thanks for clearing that up. Okay, yeah. But I think even for, I think heart, it encompasses all of those things, right? Where it's like love, it's courage, and it's trust, right? I remember I have a example and a story to tell you guys. I remember there was a couple, and they were having some issues, and a family member basically gave the man in the relationship, just a flower. Was like, give this flower to your, they weren't married at the time, but he said, your significant other, and just as a space or opportunity for hopefully some kind of like room to where they can kind of connect and kind of reestablish things, because the relationship was going so bad, and he couldn't do it, guys. He could not do it. And they had children together, and they had a daughter, but it wasn't her biological daughter, but it was a daughter that she took in to raise from him. And instead of him giving it to her, his partner, he gave it to his daughter because he didn't have the heart enough to give her just a flower. His heart wasn't in it. And I think for a lot of people who, are in relationships where it might feel like it's stagnant, or it's coming to its demise, a lot of times it's that, right? It's like they just do not have the heart for that person. So I just took it that way just because of what S. Cowan said, where he was saying, I thought you were talking about love. She was saying, sorry, you were talking about love instead of courage. But I do think, right, that's important too, because even the example that I gave with David, he had a heart for God because he loved God so much, So it's like when you love somebody earnestly, that's what you're going to need in a time to kind of like, get the courage going, that if there's something where you have to risk your life to protect this individual, I don't know if wisdom being at the forefront is going to give the person enough, right, to be able to do that. But I love all of you guys' feedback. Thank you so much for taking the time out to type and to give me all your feedback. Justin said she needs to figure it out. The way how to balance trust, honest, and think first. She feels depressed of how she did herself like that. Well, yeah, I guess so. I think she just, and I'm sure if any other women are on here listening to the podcast, I think it's a good example of how where you think everything else looks great, but there's one thing that you're looking at, and I think it's like, okay, how do I process or assess if this one thing is an essential, like rudimentary, fundamental thing that, as much as I try to go forward with this thing, it's not going to afford, right, the type of healthy relationship that we're trying to build. Or if it's something that I'm just kind of, it's not something that's necessarily essential, but we can grow, we can nurture, we can mature into, I guess, either a healthy way to look at it or a healthy way to meet whatever need it is that's coming up. So, but I agree with all of you guys. I agree with all of you guys, and it's only gets better. It says courage gives faith and optimism. Yeah. As I like to say, courage is a byproduct of faith. Yeah. And I think that faith is a byproduct of trust. You can't really have faith without having true trust. And that matters. Definitely, if any of you guys who have been in relationships or is one in one now, that no matter how compatible you are, that life is coming to test that relationship. Like there's no relationship that is not going to be tested through time, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a romantic, intimate relationship, whether it's a family relationship. Literally, the test of the relationship is what is going to help you to understand if you have the capacity to love each other through all of it, right? Or through a lifetime. And it should be tested, right? Because that's what's going to help you fortify it, really. The fact that it can be tested and you guys still be able to withstand is the proof, right? It is the receipt and the evidence and the fruitfulness out of the relationship to say, okay, yeah, This is good foundation. This is good ground. We're growing a garden, and there are not a lot of weeds in here, because we're able to go through the storm and come out better. So, and Justin says, I more agree with that. What I'm saying. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. But I thank you guys. Thank you for bearing with me with my scenarios, and I thank you for the feedback. And I thought of the scenario because I was reading, like I said, about Solomon and David, and I also thought of it because I lived it a little bit experientially, because I had a boyfriend in high school where that exact same thing happened. It the exact same thing happened, and yeah, I told him to run. I told him to run. And I think I just remember looking back, like seeing him run, and was like, wait a minute. Like, I told you, but I didn't think you was really, I didn't think you was going to book that hard. Like, he booked, y'all. He ran, and he ran all the way home, and thankfully I was right, where the guy who, he was having a conflict with, he said, he was like, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to hurt you, because one, he liked me, the guy who he was having an argument with. He was like, and I don't hurt. I don't fight females. But you shouldn't have told him to run. And do you know, the next day he told me he was going to get his people on me, and he did. He literally got one of, I guess, his friends, and she came the next day to fight me in school. She literally did, because I stood in the way of him being able to, fight my then boyfriend. It was a whole TV show, y'all. And she came in like, it was like a Medea show, y'all. Like, she came in with curlers and her bonnet, looking for me, and the whole school was following us. It was terrible. But and it was like that. Like, everybody thought, we were going to be a good fit and that we were going to last. But I could not get that out of my mind. I just couldn't. I was just like, there's no way. Like, how could you just run? And I'm fast forwarding in my mind, and I'm like, like years. Like, how let me fast forward this. Like, I don't think I can do this down the line. Like, I don't know if I feel like in times where you're going to have to protect me. I don't know if I'm going to feel protected too much by you. So that's where those those examples were coming from. But I appreciate you guys. So, as always, I want to leave time if you guys have any questions. It doesn't have to be about what I introduced tonight. It could be anything that you guys, have any questions on relationships, and I'll try to answer it to the best of my ability. And, and we're going to get off. I'm going to wrap it up in a little while, because for those of you who are still on with me, and men and women are, invited alike, but I definitely want to hear from the men, because it's a new series that I've started, where I usually come on an after show, so that I can, anyone who wants to join the live with me to talk with me face to face, we can. And I started last week where I asked the question, what freedom does marriage afford a man? Because I really want to know, and I want to hear from the men. I want to hear what your thoughts are, because I think there's so many conversations where you hear the opposite of why, especially in this current day, why marriage is not beneficial for men anymore. So I would love to hear maybe some wisdom from those who are already married, and those who still are aspiring to be married, even with all of the things that are currently going on. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. So I'll be coming on after we get off here for a little while with you guys to kind of talk about that. So, but right now, feel free. Any questions that you have, doesn't have to be on tonight's topic. While I'm waiting, I will, of course, wind down. So, Again, if you're new, I appreciate you coming to the episode. I come on every Thursday evening and Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have a YouTube channel titled Forever Friends Academy. That's where all the full episodes are. Every other platform I put like little snippets, but if you want to catch all the full episodes, please do like, comment, subscribe. You'll be notified when I'm on, and you'll be able to see and hear the whole episode. So I appreciate you guys. And if you want to dive in any deeper, I do one-on-one coaching for individuals and couples. If you're on IG, just click the link in my bio to learn a little bit more about what I do. And I also have a group coaching membership for both singles and couples, if you'd like to do it that way. So let's see what I'm missing. S. Cowan says, good topic. I would like to hear that as well. Oh, yeah. So definitely come back on for sure. And if you're women, I want to hear it too, from you guys, what your thoughts are on it. But I just want to, specifically hear from the men because, it's a question specifically for them to see where they're at with it. And, especially those of who have been in marriage, who are married. The first answer that I started last week was amazing. And I will post the ones on my Instagram that really resonate with me. And last week, the man that was on, he said that the freedom that marriage affords a man is that he's able to express the fullness of his manhood. And he said if a man is to be a man, he is going to commit to who amplifies him. And I was like, wow, I thought that was an excellent answer. Just really articulated very well. So I'm curious, you always hear the conversation on the opposite end. So I'd love to hear, because usually people think of marriage and they don't think that freedom is even a word that kind of goes along with that. It's like you feel like you're going to get married, especially men, I'm going to be locked down. A lot of men feel like they can't fulfill their purpose in a marriage because then they have to, consult and things like that with their wives, and it depends on the dynamic of the relationship where they might feel like, more held captive, more than anything like feeling, any kind of elevation into, I guess, higher experiences of freedom. So I think it's a good conversation to have, hence why I'm doing it. So I don't see any questions so far. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. And if not, then I'm going to wrap it up and then come back on here with you guys. And anyone who is camera ready can come on with me to join. I would love to talk with you guys. You guys were so nice tonight to type all the things that you typed. But if you're on with me, then we can just speak, which is great. So I appreciate it. So definitely come back on with me. I'm going to get off with you guys, and then I'm going to jump right back on. And feel free, if you know of any men, married men, single men, please do, come in and thank you. I think it's only gets better. Invited S. Collins and other people. So I appreciate you for that. Thank you. So you guys can do the same when we're on doing that discussion. All right. Well, of course, as always, had a great conversation and time with you guys. I'll be back on for the people who will come back on, have a little after show convo with me. And if not, for the people who aren't, thank you for popping in, spending time with me. I will be back on Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, with another topic for you guys. So as always remember to live to love freely. Until next time. All right. Bye, guys.